This episode is sponsored by Covenant Eyes. Quick heads up, we are going to be talking about some things in this episode that you might want to listen to out of earshot of the little ones. So wait till they go to bed, or maybe put in the earbuds, listen to this one while you are doing the dishes. Addiction can affect all sorts of areas of your life. Today, we are going to look at the financial aspects of addiction on today's episode of The Catholic Money Show. This is going to be quite an episode. I knew we were going to record and have been planning for quite some time. And I don't know about putting off, but waiting for the right time. I think that time is now. Again, just to reiterate, it's probably one you want to listen to, not around the kids. I'm not going to be going into nitty-gritty details, things like that. But we will be discussing topics that you might not want them to hear about through some guy on a podcast. This should be topics that you bring up in time when you deem it right and the way you want to do it as a parent. All right. And I'll share a couple of those resources once we get into things too. All right. I imagine you've turned this off or transitioned to earbuds. So let's go. We're going to be talking about today. So it's a toss-up on the title, and I don't even know what this is going to end up being titled. It's the financial implications of addiction, or how pornography almost ruined our marriage. And that's what we're going to be talking about here today. I guess thankfully have only had trouble with that. No alcohol or drugs or gambling or shopping or whatever else. However, I think by looking at one type of addiction, we can see how other types of addiction could play out, especially in your finances as well. So I think it'll still be instructive as we look at other things that could go on as well in life. So first, I want to give you, so this is like the roadmap for the episode. I'm going to tell the story really quick, and then I want to get to kind of why we're talking about this. Why have an episode about this? So just to look at the financial aspects of this. There are aspects to the thing itself, to finding healing, to all of that. And so I just want to go into that. I want to get to that. That's the meat of the episode. But we do need to set the context. And this is the part where I get to be really humble. I appreciate the opportunity and I love the opportunity because I think any sin, habitual or not, but I think especially ones that are sticky, they love secrecy. They love being kept in the dark. And so we're going to drag it out, kicking and screaming into the light. That's certainly something that has helped me in all of this. So I am glad to do it once again. But let's go. So it all began when I was a kid. I don't even know, first grade or so, somewhere around there, really early on. Stumbled across some and didn't really know what was going on, what it was. It was very interesting though. And stumbled across again and again, and then at a friend's house, and then technology. I grew up right as the internet was growing up. We had computers in our house probably well before you had a computer in your house. My dad was a math teacher and he taught computers at school. So we had a computer. They had a computer in the house before I was born. So we always had some sort of a computer. We were online very early. And so as that was coming along, fortunately too, so was a lot of technological advancements are put to use in how to find, consume pornography and all sorts of other things that we probably shouldn't do. But anyway, so then, computer, I had my own computer, I had internet access, all of that. So none of that went well for me in this department. And I knew it was something not to really talk about. It wasn't like a good thing. I could tell that. But I was never taught like what it was, how to talk about it, that it was bad, all this stuff, what it was doing to me. That was never brought up. I think folks these days, hopefully, parents are a lot more, we parents are a lot more aware of what's going on. So speaking of the little ones, yeah, I certainly recommend the books Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. Pretty sure that's the name of it. Those are fantastic. There's like a regular one, and then there's even one for even younger. So we have both, and we've read both with the kids, or at least the younger ones we've read the first one with. I think our oldest, maybe the second one too, we've read the other one. We go to them here and again. They're not a one-time read. They're also not a daily read, but it's good because it sets the stage of this is a thing that can hurt you. It's dangerous. If you come across something like this, let us. Just like if you come across something else dangerous, you would let us know. So anyway, I never got that, so I didn't really know what to do. Just like kind of started that shame and everything was coming up, and I mean I'll tell you this: I didn't understand anything about a mortal sin or any of that until I graduated college, and I went to confession, and the priest goes like, Do you know about this? What do you mean?" Like I knew it was bad. I confessed it, but I didn't know what was going on. So that blew my mind. Anyway, so at that point, it's like, okay, I need to I want to figure this out. And I was just, again, doing it on my own, struggling, failing, all of that. I'd say we just didn't have a lot of tools at the time, too. And it was like, yeah, man, that's tough stuff, man. I have some troubles, too. Maybe, we'll pray for each other. We'll try to do this. It wasn't a lot going on. So it was a hard struggle, wins, losses, successes, stumbles, all of that. And then Amanda and I started dating. And I was living in New York City at the time. And I had just gotten an iPhone 4. So like internet everywhere, blah, blah, blah. So she was over to visit one time and we were walking around, and if you've not been to New York, the cabs, at least back then, cabs, they're still around. They'll have a big like ad on the top. Usually it's a Broadway show, but some of them are for a strip club or something. But drove by and she's like, "Oh wow!" And then there was the jumping off point in the conversation, and she asked, "Oh yeah, I've heard that pornography can be just a big problem for guys. Did you ever have a struggle with that?" And that feeling when something like, I don't know what it is, but like your whole body just goes, that happened. And I wish I could have said, you know what? I stumbled across some of that when I was younger, but I learned that it was no good for me. So I've stayed away from it since. I wish I could have said, yeah, I was kind of getting into that stuff, and then I realized what it was. Somebody taught me like what was going on there and how that's not really something I want. So it took a little work, but it's in the past. I wish I could have said, yeah, it came up in our Bible study in college, and a lot of guys struggle with it, and I struggled right next to my brothers, and we whipped that thing. But I couldn't say that because none of those things happened. And, I imagine that the last one probably would have happened if I would have stayed at the college I started at with a really vibrant Catholic community and Bible studies and discipleship and all that stuff. But I transferred, of course. So it didn't happen. So I told her that. I go, well, I said something along these lines. It's not something I struggled with in the past. It's something I am struggling with, even current. And that was quite a surprise. And lots of conversations and prayers and mercy and all sorts of things happened over the next week or two. And we were able to move forward. We broke up for a little bit there, and then we got back together. So I found some counselor in the city. I met with him a couple times. It did not work out. I did not like his style. It just did not fit with my personality. I was desperate, so I went a number of times. And then there was a time, just one of the things we did, I was like, this is not This is not going to help me. I did take a hammer to my iPhone, smashed that thing, the brand new iPhone, went back. Thankfully, I still had the old phone. So I went back to that. No internet, none of that. And so, yeah, so that was part of the kind of winning back some trust part of it. Anyway, I started making some real good strides. And, we eventually got engaged and married and all of that. And over time, with just life and all of that, like things started coming back, like technology kept coming back. And it's like, even out today, like you can hardly not get a smartphone. So things like that. And so some of that tech started coming back into life. And after a while, so did the old habits. And they stayed in the dark, in the secret, where they like, until this was years into our marriage. I was doing an Exodus 90 with some guys at our parish. And as I'm going through this, one of the things that Exodus 90 tries to address is purity in all forms and chastity, along with many other things. And the idea of just self-mastery and all that goes right along with this very well. So in our discussions every week, guys would just bring this up and their current struggles, or when they told their wife about their struggles and brought it all out into the open. And I thought, that sounds real freeing. Maybe I could do that someday. I don't know. And so that was all like going on in me and everything. And then I don't know what it was. It must have been guardian angels tapping on shoulders or something. I was doing the dishes one night and I'm aware, the tap on the shoulder by the angel just kind of brought it up. Hey, how's it been going with all of this? And in that moment, I just thought I could keep going and keep lying about this. Or I could take the inspiration from my brothers and be honest. And maybe there's better ways to do this. Maybe there's some planning that needs to go into this. But I didn't know any of that. So I told her. And it went real badly because she thought it was all in the past. So she wanted me out of the house. And I went. I don't like this. I'm not proud of it. I'm not trying to say I'm right. It was a really bad few hours. Thankfully, some friends of ours, the wife came and talked to her. The husband came and talked with me. We met. We talked through a lot of these things. And then eventually at the end of the day, we got together. And we had a plan to make a plan. But this time I found a counselor who was fantastic. Reached out to a priest friend who, this is a part of his ministry. He recommended a number of things, including Sexaholics Anonymous. I don't love everything they do, but it was really helpful. So I think it's in all a good thing. There's a diocesan group that I got in with, somewhat similar to that as well. But it was just really great. One of the most helpful things in those groups were meeting other guys, and unfortunately, meeting other guys who were cautionary tales, of being able to see 40 years into the future and what this would do to me as an older man. To see guys coming in and saying that their wife just divorced them, that they lost their job, that they, have a court case coming up, whatever else. One of the pieces of wisdom I got from these groups was that and I think this applies not just to addiction, but any sin, really our whole life, our spiritual life, is that we're never stationary. We're either working towards perfection, towards being holier and building up virtue and all that, or we're getting worse. And if we don't do anything, we're not going to stay still. The world and concupiscence and all of that is going to pull us to getting lazier, getting worse, being more permissive, etc. And so we always have to stay on top of it and move the needle. We have to stay on top of it just to stay where we are, let alone get better. So that was good. And, meeting with guys regularly and all that was helpful. And did those meetings and stuff. I don't know what it was, maybe 2 years or so, something. I don't know. It was all very helpful. And there were stumbles and there were falls and there were mistakes and there were blind spots uncovered and then taken care of, and some real freedom. And it's been awesome. And it's taken time. It's taken some money. It's taken some effort. And that's what we're going to talk about coming up in this next section right after this. What it's like, the sponsorship is like this. This is one of the things that has prompted me to finally do this episode. It's one that we've had in the back pocket for a long time. And then we started working with this episode sponsor, Covenant Eyes. I thought, here we go. This is it. This is the perfect fit because Covenant Eyes, I'm serious, has played a really big role in establishing and maintaining freedom. And it's gotten better over the years. I've been a customer 14 years, something crazy long. And I've seen their tools evolve over time. And they've gotten way more helpful over time. Back in the day, there were ways around it, things you could do to sneak something past it. But as technology has improved, they've improved. Now, they're looking at URLs. There's browser extensions so they can see even more of what's going on and what's getting loaded. They got screen accountability. That is the game changer because instead of just looking for what's the URL, what's the search term, etc., they're just taking a picture of the screen. If you're seeing it, it can see it, and it does it like every minute or so. It's random, so you don't really know. You can't, okay, all right, it just took the picture. I'm going to go now. Nope. You have no idea when it's doing it, but it's always doing it. And it does it on the computer, on the phone, on Android, on iOS and all that. It's only in certain apps. It's super helpful. If you're not using it as part of your toolkit to fight pornography, you should start. You can get a free trial using our code WalletWin30 or go to walletwin.com/CE. Check it out. There's nothing to lose with the trial, but I think you're really going to love it. WalletWin.com/CE. No reason not to have this in your tool belt. WalletWin.com/CE or use the code WalletWin30 for your free 30-day trial. All right, we are back and story time's over. Let's get into what we're here to talk about, which is the financial impact of addiction. Because whether it's pornography or alcohol or drugs or gambling or shopping or whatever else, there's going to be impacts. So there's financial impact of just the thing itself, paying for pornography or alcohol or drugs or the gambling or the shopping. Like you're going to spend money on the thing. You're also going to miss opportunities. You're going to have problems with work. Addiction interferes with your life. And so it's going to interfere with being able to work or being able to work well to get that higher paying job. Actively taking part in the addiction at work or thinking about it, or there's just some lingering after effects. You're just not going to be at the top of your game. And so you're going to miss opportunities to advance. You're going to miss opportunities for something better. You might even lose your job over it. And that's a big financial impact as well. Probably also some health implications, especially on some of these, whether it's just through stress or through the actual thing that it's doing to you, which that's going to have certainly some monetary impacts as well. There's going to be impacts in some of the fallout of the addiction, right? If it does destroy your marriage, all sorts of pieces of your life could fall apart, and then there's just more expenses. So there's just like the straight on financial impact, and that's kind of like the easy one to think about, but I want to think about some of these others. So that next layer was kind of like how is it affecting everything else? How is it affecting your work? All that. But now, that's if we let it run its course and do its thing and go wild on your life, which I don't want to let it do, and I don't think you would either. But there's also a financial component to getting better, those financial needs when it comes to recovery. So, counseling. And again, I'm here to tell you, some personalities might have trouble spending money on this, or thinking they're worthy to spend money on this, or it's just one more reason to feel ashamed. Because now, instead of paying for soccer fees for the kids, I got to pay to go to counseling or whatever else. Nope. That's the devil. That's the evil one. That's the accuser trying to get you, trying to keep you from healing, from help. So don't listen to him. All right? And if that's going to be a financial strain, because counseling isn't cheap. One, you can just ask the doctor directly or the counselor directly if they have any sort of programs or discounts or anything like that. I worked out a thing where it was like, we started super cheap, like ridiculously cheap. The costing's, hey, let's do this. And I think we reset down to something crazy, like $10 or something. And then each time was like 10 more. So it was 10, then 20, then 30, then 40, then 50, then 60. And we kind of were able to build it into the budget over time. This guy is amazing. So it's been really helpful. He was incredible. And even at the beginning, he's like, why don't we just do a couple of these for free? It's okay. I've got a bunch of clients. I want you to get the help, and I don't want anything in the way. That's awesome. If you can find somebody like that and the money's a problem. If not, again, we've got the episode on medical bills, and we've got, if you are a member of Catholic Money Academy, an extra training on medical bills and all that. These charity care programs, if you got a big health system, which you probably do around you, they probably have counseling as part of their system. If you qualify for their program, which is probably a good chance you do because these things are incredibly generous, it's going to cover the counseling too. So you might need to do a little investigative work. You might, again, this is all. If you're going down this route, like, you're already in humble zone. Like, what's one more little thing to humble you? It's probably good for you. So don't let the money get in the way. Okay, counseling. That's huge. And getting a good one, getting a Catholic one, somebody who understands what's going on, because there's going to be some out there who are like, you know what? This is normal. This is good for you. Nope, we do not want any of that junk. So we got to find somebody who actually understands what's going on, what you want to do, and sees everything, can open and close with prayers and all that. You also might need to make some tech changes. You might need to switch out your phone. You might need to go buy a dumb phone. I did this back before dumb phones were cool, so it was really hard to find one. I finally found, because a lot of them will still throw in a browser, which what's the whole point? And because they're so dumb, there's no parental controls. You can't turn that part off. That would be great. Just put in a secret code. You have your wife or a buddy, put in some code to like turn off some of that stuff. That'd be great. But a lot of these feature phones don't even have that. So that made it hard to find. I finally found one. It was definitely designed for old people. I had an SOS button on the back, super big buttons, but it was great. I remember I brought it to my men's group and they were like, yo, the thing is awesome. It was a Jethro phone. And at least the one I had doesn't even work anymore because it was older technology, but it worked then. Anyway, and it was great. I could make calls. I could T9 text. I think I could take really bad pictures. It was like I was back in college. So you might need to get a dumb phone. And you can do that there's a bunch out there now. And it's up to you, like, how restricted you want it to be. Do you still want certain things? And so some of these, because they don't sell gajillions of them, so they make less, so they can be pricey. But again, it can be worth it because you are able to continue participating in your life and make calls and have texts and things like that, but not have the trouble too. You might need to do that. You might be a change in phone plan or whatever else. You might, depending on the route you go there and what you do in your life, like you might need a GPS. That's what I did too. I got the super dumb phone and then I got a GPS for the car so I could still figure out my way around. These are all very inconvenient. You might not want to do them, but What do you really want to do? This is the whole thing with budgeting, with our money, this is why it's important to be on the same page with your spouse with money, all of this, to understand money, because it is a way of taking our priorities, taking our values, and putting them into practice in our everyday life. So by buying that dumb phone, by buying the GPS, I am living out my priority to find freedom. I'm living out the priority to build self-mastery. I'm living out the priority that I want real success, that I want to end up in heaven. That's where I'm going, and that's what I'm going to use my money for. All right, so these might be inconvenient. They might be a little pricey to start up, but they're worth it. You're also going to probably need some monitoring or filtering software. I know a good one, Covenant Eyes. It's fantastic. There might be some other options out there that can do the filtering, that can do blocking. They can do that too. I think there might even be some that do screen accountability. I just know that I've been using Covenant Eyes for a very long time. I trust it. I've got my partners or wingmen or accountability buddies in there to get the reports. I'm fine with it. And again, it's worth the price. Like budget software, we recommend YNAB. It costs you some money, but it saves you time. It saves you money because of what you're doing. This is worth the price. All right. It's your buddy there, man. It's checking your stuff. It's great. And if you're worried about with the screen accountability, it takes a screenshot. It does its AI, I'm guessing, thing to see what's going on it. And then it will send screenshots. So you can have it so your accountability buddy can see all your screenshots, and they're all blurred out. So if you're on the bank, like they can't figure out what your account number is or your balance or any of that stuff. You're working on stuff, a document, they can't read it. They'll just see, oh, yeah, all right, they're on my Google Docs. Okay. But it's not blurred. It's not one color. So it's, oh, that looks like something. I'm going to give them a call and see what's going on. And you can have it also just set to only show them like the concerning ones. So they will never even ever get a chance to see a blurry version of that Word doc that you were working on. But again, having it in place is good. Yeah. And then I just think, this is the financial needs of being more intentional. I think starting budgeting, if you're not budgeting, budgeting is going to be a helpful thing in this because it's going to help you make a plan. How do I want to use my money? Okay. And then when you're in, I got to stick to the plan. I got to do what I said I was going to do. And there's going to be times when you want to get that impulse purchase. You see that deal, whatever it is, and the budget says, you didn't set that money aside for that, or you didn't set that much aside. And then you can think, okay, I'm not going to get it. Or let me look at my priorities. Let me evaluate my priorities. You know what? I'm okay. I have maybe some simpler meals for a week. I'm going to shift a little bit of money from groceries into whatever, entertainment, and we're going to go to this concert, whatever it is. You have to stop and think about what you're doing and what's important to you. That is a muscle that is going to help you with whatever addiction it might be. If you're building it up with your money of, I want to do this thing. Wait, let me think about my plan. Does it fit into the plan? What are my priorities? Does this thing I want to do right now fit my priorities and the plan for the rest of my money? Now we look at that with addiction. I want to go do this thing. There's this urge pulling me into this. Let me stop. Let me think about my plan. Does this fit into the rest of what I'm doing in my life? So by building up habits of budgeting, we are building up understanding ourselves, understanding our priorities and what we want to be doing and following through on the plan. So that when you say, you know what, I'm not going to do whatever with my money, that helps you also say, I'm not going to stay up past 11 o'clock, or I'm not turning on a screen past 8, or whatever else it might be. I'm not going to that part of town. I'm not driving past. I'm going to take a different way home because I'm not going to drive past the casino, whatever it is. That's huge. So it's just a help of understanding ourselves. And in all of this, of course, whether it's money, if it's addiction, if it's anything, understanding ourselves as children of God. That is who you are. Everything else flows out of that. All of our other relationships, all of our other jobs, our titles, our responsibilities find their home in your identity as a beloved child of God. Your good and heavenly Father who loves you beyond measure. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Catholic Money Show. If you liked it, if you think it would be helpful for somebody else, please send it to them. Talk to them about it. Send it over. Send it their way. Hey, you should check out this Catholic Money Show, or send a text right now. All right, copy the link, the URL, hit this little share icon on the podcast app or on YouTube on your phone, and send it off to somebody right now. Again, you can watch us on YouTube, in Spotify, and you can listen to the podcast anywhere you find a podcast. And if there's somewhere you listen to podcasts and you can't find us there, let me know, because I'm pretty sure I've got us everywhere. And if you can leave any sort of reviews or ratings, please do that wherever you are, where you're listening. If you're watching on YouTube, if you don't, check us out on YouTube, subscribe, follow, all that jazz. We'd love to help you, and it does help other people find the show and find help. If there's a topic you want to hear about on the Catholic Money Show, drop us a line and let us know. You can reach us at email@walletwin.com. Thank you for everything, for listening, for doing any of those actions, and we will see you next week in our next episode. Goodbye, God bless, and bye for now.